Get ready for hot takes and insight from local industry experts in real estate, business, and lifestyle. He used to play ball with the Padres. He played hockey for the Lobos. Now they're crushing it in the real estate game. Together, they'll showcase the best of the Duke City. This is All About You, ABQ.
Yeah.
That's right. It's all about you, ABQ. Now, the goal of the show is to highlight the best of our city's industry experts in real estate, culture, lifestyle, so that you walk away with some value and feeling inspired. Now, the way we like to do that is to answer the questions you may have or interview the guests that you want to see. So we invite you to join the conversation. You can reach out using the hashtag up here or join our email list to get some timely tips about our community and real estate market. Hey, I'm Skip Adams, owner of Sold by Skip Real Estate Brokerage here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, Grant Harvey, Vision Mortgage.
Home loan lender. Now, you probably remember Grant, or at least recognize him and his new glasses and hairdo from being the head coach of the University of New Mexico men's Lobo hockey team. Now he's absolutely crushing it in the mortgage space.
Where have we seen this guy? Was it HGTV's House Hunters? Or was it because he's part of the top 2% producing real estate agents in the city?
Yes. Thank you for that warm intro, dude. I feel like we had 3 takes, but we got that one done.
Yeah, we love hearing our intro, man.
Shout out to Mark back there working the soundboard.
The speakers are overheated. What a hot weekend we had. And
I tell you what, I'm sweating inside under these heat lamps. But
I think it's because the peppers are still working our system.
So last week, if you tuned in, we had scorpion peppers.
That's right, scorpion
peppers, and we made it through. Cool thing to note, behind the camera, we had the entire crew was eating scorpion peppers too, trying to film at the same time.
I love it. They jumped in, they saw what happened to us and go, hey, can we have one? Probably counterintuitive, but they all joined in on the crying. It was really nice. It looked like we were having a farewell tour. But no, everyone was just scorched inside.
We had a crew member throw up and we had a guest throw up. So I think it was a successful episode. But here's why you're going to want to stay tuned this week. Danielle Casey, the president of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance. Area is called. President and CEO Danielle Casey. She's going to drop some knowledge on us on Albuquerque, why we're growing, why businesses are moving here, and what her role is in recruiting new industry and job here.
Yeah, I feel like some of our episodes are kind of coalescing in terms of purposing and the intentions of their guests and what they do, which I love because it means that they're working efficiently because they know each other. Let's talk about, let's do a little recap on how was fireworks with 2 babies.
Dude, 4th of July fireworks, and this is the first year Birdie, who's coming up on 2 years old, was coherent enough, I guess, or not coherent, but awake. Like she could actually recognize that fireworks were going on, and so talk about it. Like the best thing in the world is watching her face watch fireworks. It was just like she kept doing this, just like wow. Yeah. And mind you, it was just like a cone going off in like the front yard. It wasn't anything major, but super sweet to watch that. So it was a cool experience.
Yeah, I feel like if you had a little boy, he'd be sticking his eye over the firework, probably like we used to. So I'm really glad you had 2 girls.
Yeah, that's where this hairline came from.
And the flyaways too. Let's I'll go over this weekend. I had start off with a pool party, and then I had a little admirer decided to mimic me.
Mini me?
Yeah. So I call this character Big Rig. Big Rig is just absolute Midwest nonsensical Copenhagen guy. I'm still doing it now. Got my Bud Light. I don't even drink Bud Light, but it fits the character. So we had shot some fireworks off. My brother has a northern property on the western with Paradise Hills, and the view had a 180. If you could see, I'm actually cross-eyed. This is where I wear these glasses.
Is this Miles' house?
Yeah.
You guys can see fireworks from there?
Well, I can't see very well. Look at me. My eyes are cross-eyed.
Oh,
I just pulled them apart. But yeah, we had a good little session there. Not too hot of a day though, and if you have a pool.
Yeah, well, if you're rich enough to have a pool, I don't have that pool money, but I heard you're swimming in swim diapers now.
Yeah, bunch of babies in the pool. Skip and I were talking about before the show. Is it alarming that babies are in the pool? He says no. I still say yes until I have babies, and it'll be very self-serving for me to go, no, they're fine. But meanwhile,
you can still drink that water.
Just a yellow water streak where they swim, but Skip seems to find that okay.
Let's talk some current events. I know there was some stuff going on when it comes to student loans, and I know that's a big big player when it comes to getting qualified for financing is going back and looking at student loans. And I know in the news we were talking about forgiving student loans, which would open up a whole nother level of purchasing power for buyers.
Yeah, so this reached the Supreme Court. My personal feelings is this had no standing to go forward to the Supreme Court, but that's neither here nor there. The student loan forgiveness is not happening now. What does that mean for young home buyers? It means less discretionary income. More of their income is going towards paying off these student loans. I know personally our first guest that we ever had in the show, Miles Harvey, had this $20,000 elimination would have made him student loan free. So, but now he can't go buy the house. And it's not a sympathy thing. It's just that it's not in the budget now.
No, and that plays into a lot of people that are in the same situation. Not only are interest rates so high right now and values continue to go up here in Albuquerque, but now when you strap on the fact that your purchasing power has gone down because of student loans and your debt to income ratio is thrown off, we're starting, maybe that will have another effect on our housing market. But
yeah, it's starting. It's coming into play. I think for a lot of kids were counting on this, and so now it frees up less money for them on a monthly basis, and actually overall, there's a lot of PhD candidates or ones that have got their PhD who now feel that this was more angst than they counted on.
Mm-hmm.
Now a lot of them like to pay off these student loans and then move on to the next step of their career. I sometimes advise, hey, well, let's look at you on a monthly basis. Some of them just want to get rid of that debt and move on. So we're at a little bit of stalemate. Biden may bring it up again under a different premise. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about Mortgage Minute right now while we're discussing debt to income ratio.
Sweet.
So those 30-day lates that everyone worries about that impact your credit score are very real, especially when it comes to mortgages. A 30-day late in a mortgage can almost mean you're not eligible for a refinance or the next house. I'll tell you, there's some instances for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and VA, they will allow you to have one 30-day late on your mortgage, which is usually a killer. FHA will not allow it. If you have one 30-day late on your FHA mortgage, they won't allow you to go refinance or purchase the next house with an FHA loan. For conventional and VA, you must write a letter explaining why that happened. It has to be a good reason, and they will allow you to get a future loan. The one thing you need to watch out for is on a 30-day loan, more so the impact on your credit score. I've seen them drop 100 points because of the weight that a mortgage payment has. So 30-day lates are always bad in the industry. 30-day late in your mortgage, do everything you can to avoid it, okay? That is our Mortgage Minute.
Dude, that's good info, Grant. Pay your bills. Try and pay them on time, man. That's those lates will kill you.
The 30-day late on a mortgage, can you blame a bank that says, hey, you know what? What's your propensity to pay me back when you just were late with your last guys? So, yeah. Pretty scary stuff. I know a lot of times things can be hard. You can actually ask for forbearance too. Go back into explaining that you may need your payments delayed, and sometimes they'll work with you. But always contact your mortgage company if you feel like you're in danger of being 30 days late.
Well, when it comes to employment, we're going to talk about coming up in the next segment. Did you know that nearly 15,000 people are employed in scientific research and development in the greater Albuquerque area?
No, I was off by a couple thousand. Yeah,
it's kind of a number I always think about.
I had this pegged at 13,000. Okay. Yeah.
Coming up in the next segment, Danielle Casey of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance is going to explain to us what they do as far as bringing in new jobs and new industries to the Albuquerque area. So stay tuned. This is all about ABQ. Well, welcome back to ABQ. I'm Skip Adams, owner of Sold by Skip Real Estate Brokerage here in Albuquerque.
Grant Harvey, Vision Mortgage Home Loan Expert.
We're joined today by Danielle Casey, the president and CEO of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance, known as AREA. And I got to say, fascinating gal. She comes to us from California to Arizona and then landed here, fell in love more than once. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Now, Danielle, you and I
love this story.
we're gonna gas you up a little bit here. So, you and I have met, and we've had conversations kind of about Albuquerque, the area. But I think it's always fascinating. I mean, the show is ABQ, and we always want to find out how in the hell did people end up here in Albuquerque. So, I mean, I know your backstory is Air Force brat, but by way of California to Phoenix. Talk about your
We'll reverse
journey.
that, Phoenix to California to here, even wilder. So yeah, this is my 9th state, not by choice. Yeah, I blame Dad and other family members for all of that. But I was in the greater Phoenix area from 99 until about 18. So the beauty of that is I have a big love for the desert and the Southwest.
Yeah.
So that really transcends things beautifully. And I had the opportunity to watch that market go from a community that was very similar to Albuquerque to one that now is booming in a lot of different ways. Some ways we may not want here, but some ways it creates very, very good lessons for us.
What you're saying is, let's show us the money, but let's keep all the big population and the traffic out, but bring the money and the jobs.
I think it's noteworthy that this is where you're at now, having your choice of your array of cities you've been at. This is where you're at the present time, and there's no place better to be than right here in Albuquerque right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in Sacramento at the time, so I'd gone out there to help rebuild a regional organization in that market. So it was about 2.5 million people, 6 counties. We integrated quite a bit and did a lot of exchange with the Bay Area. And I got a call from a recruiter, that Gary Tonjes, who had run my organization for 25 years, one of the funniest guys you'd ever meet, and very talented. He had retired and they were looking for someone new, and I went, Albuquerque? And frankly, I went, if you said, give me a list of 5 markets you may want to work in someday, it wouldn't have been on the list. And so I immediately, as a community builder and someone who's worked in the public sector, went, well, why is that? And I started peeling back the onion and doing a little bit of homework and researching and seeing the beauty of this market, the amazing assets and the cultural appeal. I have an anthropology degree in anthropology from out of ASU. So cultures, art, worked in museums. So anyway, all of those things fell together, and I went, well, maybe my calling is to help this be a place that everybody will see as the market they want to be in.
Well, that's fantastic, and we always like to get the outsider's perspective because Albuquerque is, like you said, it's one of the last affordable cities in the Southwest, and as these other markets like Denver, Dallas, Phoenix become, grow exponentially and become just busting at the seams, people overflow and they kind of come to Albuquerque and they go, just kind of like what you said, well, why? Okay, I'll give it a shot. Let's go check it out. And then turn out they fall in love with the mountains, the desert landscape, and the cost of living.
Well, yeah, and the cost of living here. So before we went on the show, she provided me this cool little, what would you say?
Postcard.
Yeah, and it gives so many facts, it makes my head spin. It looks like we're on the lowest of 92.9 of cities, including Austin, Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Denver, Los Angeles. That
for cost of living.
That screams at me. A lot of people figure out that their dollar goes farther here, but they do dig deeper and they go, what else is in Albuquerque, right? A lot of Skip's business is actually predicated on people that are moving, and their considerations are here, or Tucson, right, and our competing markets, and so he does a great job of illustrating that. These numbers do a good job of illustrating something maybe on the finance side, the engineers that I get a hold of going, here, check these numbers out. So would you like to touch on what is one of your favorite facts you like to?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things to highlight. This is a really amazing profile report. This is our, 3rd year. We started it about 5 months after I got here, and I reached out to the local CBRE office on the commercial side and said, let's put together your data resources and ours, and let's kind of bootstrap up a really great publication to tell the story right.
Yeah, let's build a profile of what Albuquerque actually is.
Exactly. So this is a really great, if people find this and go online, it's fully interactive. It's 40 pages of everything you'd want to know, from cost of living, quality of life, all the way down to a link to our job listing board and other things. So and incentives for businesses. I think my favorite part is that it does show our rankings in comparison to the markets we compete against for talent.
Right.
So looking at ourselves compared to ourselves doesn't tell us much. Looking at New Mexico compared to the US average doesn't tell us a ton, but we are competing against the Tucsons, the Salt Lakes, the Phoenixes, the Denvers, maybe Colorado Springs,
Vegas,
for certain industries.
One thing that I think this show is, the premise of it is to showcase things that are great about Albuquerque. We normally don't talk about numbers. We go Sandias, the green chili, and we have these aesthetics that seem like, I love food and I love the scenery. Here's what jumps out to me: 63% of people own a house here. $335,000 is the average house price here versus the national average of $371. That's kind of good numbers for me, you know. So I like digging into numbers. Skip doesn't like it; he thinks it gets it on nerdy. Right? That's why I wore these glasses today to read these numbers perfectly.
Yeah, I can't add. But some of the other stats that came up in this report that you're talking about, Danielle, when it comes to our talent and industry profile, the reports showed that almost 24% of Albuquerque's population is bilingual, fluent in English and Spanish. 60% of the workforce identifies as people of color, and 24% of aerospace engineers and operations techs in the region are female. There you go.
We have amazing female leadership in New Mexico across the board. And those are really amazing statistics. And one thing about this community and state that's so beautiful and unique is our unbelievable cultural diversity that we don't sell well enough into other markets. So we are going to be continuing to try to do that in a bigger and bolder and more positive way. And it's a little bit different than a tourism angle. New Mexico True is a wonderful campaign. It's done great things for us. We want to do our job as area with other partners in the state to really build a business brand. So the perceptions of what it's like to do business and the career opportunities in this market really, you know, start to align with reality as opposed to misconceptions.
We were talking about how this started off as an Albuquerque endeavor, and then we went region-based. Could talk a little bit about that?
I'd love to. Well, again, I cannot take credit for the history of this organization, which is amazing. We were formally named Albuquerque Economic Development Incorporated. We've been around since the late 60s, so just, you know, none of that is my doing. And the organization has always served within the 4-county region. Basically, any company that came into the larger market said, I need a space. We never discerned and said, well, if it's not in the city of Albuquerque borders, we're not going to promote it. So we did that consistently for, you know, decades. What we've done now is created a seat at the table for public sector partners around the region, as well as our private sector business investors that have really been the bulk of our support for our entire history. Very cool. For the first time ever, we had to change our bylaws and everything. We even changed our nonprofit status to 501c3. We did all these things, but now we have a member of Sandoval County. The county manager serves on our board of directors. Bernalillo County has a representative serving on our board of directors. And we have other smaller organizations around the region that serve on advisory councils for us. This is incredible. How else do you get business and government working together if you don't put them together talking about economic development?
Yeah, probably dual carrots, right? Everyone being touted each way, but I'm in mutually beneficial, right?
So area, let's talk a little bit about that and kind of what you guys do, other than, you know, provide some interesting facts to, you know, about our city and our workforce. But you actually go outside the borders and just kind of sell the Albuquerque regional area as a place to do business, to bring business. What are some of the talking points that you give out to big businesses that are looking to land somewhere?
Sure. Well, the fun part about that is we have so many different customers and target audiences. It gets pretty deep and complex. But going back to what do we really do? You know, a big piece, I would say, well, dividing up the organization, you know, half of what we're doing is probably behind the scenes that you're not going to see. How I'm marketing this talent report is sending it directly to national consultants advising companies on new locations, right? People not in our community. Sending it to people that are in certain occupations that we want to recruit because we have to recruit. So we're doing a lot of that. We do outbound sales calls, market visits, direct company lead generation identification, and then we'll get on. And so if we're lucky enough, when we go, there's an aerospace and defense related company manufacturing something cool in Southern California, we want to tell them why they should relocate here or maybe do their expansion here. So that's a very unique pitch. And so we'll talk about the labor and the talent we have and some of the affordability. It's a different pitch than a financial services company would hear in Chicago. And we've actually spent some time and energy the first part of this year researching what they all really think and know about us, and we're going to be putting that into action in the near future on how to message them.
We were talking before the show. I thought, you know, remember Scott Cregan was on the show with Graphic Connections in New Mexico, Amigo. I said, this sounds eerily similar to what they do. And she said, of course, we work with them. And I think that's great. I feel like New Mexico has had a hard time with collaboration like we spoke about before. It's great that two entities are going, no, I'll get I'll get the new businesses. I've got them. There's no pride in this in terms of saying that we claim them first. You guys are forming a conglomerate, and I think that's important to capture the most business too.
If we really want to be successful, we've got to work together. Our partners across the state are from the governor's office, the economic development department, the state marketing arm for economic development, all of our community partners, and groups like NAOP and the chambers of commerce, et cetera. So we're really proud of that.
Because I was the UNM coach, I'm very big on their schooling here. What type of endeavors do you guys have in terms of promoting the schools? So is there a section of that you guys are trying to bring in students?
It's a fantastic idea and it's on the list.
Okay.
Actively today recruiting students, not out of our offices, but it's certainly on the table.
Okay.
It's a huge piece of one of the things that we will do to partner with community leaders, and we actually had a great conversation about that. UNM, by the way, I want to throw a big shout out. They're one of our largest supporters because President Stokes said, your strategic plan and ours align perfectly. We have to work together.
That's great.
But this is only a year old, so it's gonna take some time. It's very exciting.
Sharing a vision is the way to go, right? I mean, when people agree on where the goal line is, I think that's wonderful. I love hearing that. Yeah.
Well, when you can identify an industry, whether it's aerospace, and in attracting those companies to work in Albuquerque, it's important to have training set up at the university that dives into aerospace training. Like, if you're going to work in this industry, we've already got a whole workforce trained up for you.
Absolutely. Well, and so I do have a little bit of a fact and figure, and this is why that alignment is so important. So just as a big example, from about 2017 to 2021, our advanced industry establishments, so STEM occupations, we went from 8 out of 11, and what that means, number 8 out of 11 total communities we compare ourselves to, 10 others, competitor markets. So 8 out of 11, including us, we went from 8 to 5th in numbers of companies, so establishments in those advanced industries, right? The challenge is, then we went from STEM occupations, so jobs in STEM, from 6 out of 11 to 4 out of 11.
Great.
So we're killing it, but our completions are still 9th out of 11. So that means we need to get more graduates out that are graduating through STEM occupation degrees and other trades. So that's a huge priority. We know that, and we're aligning with the university and other educational institutions on that.
That's great. We're big on, in the show, pumping people's tires, and we also have them allude to, what are some deficiencies,
Sure.
and so I'm glad you covered that, because we have to be honest and say, even when he does his YouTube videos, we do go, okay, let's talk about crime. Okay, it's not as bad as you think, right? We get right into that, but
Sure.
yeah, it's important to address.
And I'll reference it just because I spent so much time in the Phoenix market. That's what I watched ASU do over 20 years, was say we're not going to be, just a party school anymore and a liberal arts school. We're going to advance our engineering. So just one great example of how we can do it a different way, in a unique New Mexico way.
What deficiency do you think that we can address that could be a strong suit based on the resources that we have?
Well, we talked a little bit earlier. One area that is a huge challenge for markets across the U.S. that if we had enough, energy and oomph behind it, which I do believe we're getting there in conversations, is site readiness for industrial properties across the state. We're seeing, the Permian Basin area, Santa Teresa, they're doing a great job. They're building all kinds of speculative development. We need to figure out how to do that in greater Albuquerque, get public infrastructure in the ground or at least pre-planned for the types of uses we want. Because if a company comes in and we go, hey, there's 100 acres right there, we'd love to have you. We'll give it to you for free. And they go, okay, well, if you can't tell me how much it's gonna cost to build it up or how quick I can get there, we're going to move on to Alabama or Texas or wherever.
What she means by that too, just to kind of go maybe in layman's terms, there's roads and pipelines and water,
infrastructure,
just the supporting factors for this building. It wouldn't be enough to say, hey, we can put this building up. Well, how are we going to do A, B, and C? So that's kind of an important thing to attack and something that we might be lacking. Here's what I love about this. We're talking about the third largest art market in the U.S. located in Santa Fe.
Right.
So close to us. I talk about Corrales too, and this show, we kind of are gone region-based too.
Yeah.
We like to pump the tires of a lot of places that are surrounding us. And Santa Fe, what a good selling point in terms of the art diversity too. And you're the anthropologist, and you has to love this.
It's crazy.
Aspect.
It's like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So a couple of things to note in Albuquerque. I mean, you talked about industrial stuff, but for warehousing, because we have the rail system that runs right through town. We also have I-40 that is a huge delivery pipeline, and then 25. So talk about some of the top industries that we have coming to town or that we should be prepping for. I mean, we've got aerospace, we got space. Typically people know us as Kirtland Air Force Base and government jobs, but what's really going on here?
Right, and they feel like such a big mystery, right? There is a lot going on in aerospace and defense in terms of ancillary businesses and services. So the Max Q development, keep an eye on that, what's going to happen, because they have gate access. They're actually technically on Kirtland Air Force Base, but just outside the gate. So the opportunity for private business now to integrate as service providers is unbelievable. So definitely check that out. It's actually listed. We have a site. It's called abqsites.com. It's just commercial development sites.
You say Q clearance related, right?
Yes, okay. Yes. So it's very cool stuff. So that's a really interesting and exciting piece. Renewable and clean energy operations. We are seeing a lot of inquiries nationally and locally on manufacturing related to solar industries, manufacturing related to clean energy. So universal hydrogen was one announcement that we had recently that's going to go over near the airport that we helped on. Arcosa, I was speaking publicly recently because Arcosa is a wind turbine manufacturer. So because of the big transmission lines that are going to be going in and the renewable energy demands, they're going to create 250 jobs in Berlin manufacturing these. Here's the trick though, just getting them to pick the site and go, yes, this makes sense and we're going to locate here is one thing. Then companies need aftercare. How do we help them find the labor and the talent? As you know, if we're bringing anybody in from outside, where are they going to live and who's helping them with that? So it's exactly.
There's a supporting cast in all of this, and it trickles down to many different industries to say, hey, it's conducive for you to raise your hand and be part of this movement.
Yeah. So announcing the company coming to the market to us is kind of stage one.
Okay.
There's a lot of pieces that go into it, and look, that's why you're president and CEO, because you can think about all those moving pieces and get everything squared away. So. That's fantastic.
Well, and I'm blessed with an amazing, really tremendous and brilliant and supportive board of directors.
One thing I like about you guys, abq.org, super easy website to remember, but very clean and easy to use website. So if you ever visit the website, they have cost of living calculators, they've got industries, they've got site maps, they've got literally everything you ever wanted to know about Albuquerque area, how to bring your business here, who to call if you need a house, mortgages, anything like that. It's all available on abq.org.
Tell me one thing. I'm a big train guy. Who loves the fact that we have train accessibility?
Rail access is very hard to come by and in very high demand. Now it can be very complex as well. So just because there's a rail spur there doesn't mean you can actually go on or off the line. So those are some big pieces in site development. But I will tell you, you get a rail serve site that's good to go, that's like gold in your pocket.
That's great. I promised you I wouldn't give you any pop quizzes. That was one. I apologize. Something so specific, but thank you. That was you got she's.
Hey.
Look at that's why she's our favorite guest. Danielle Casey, anything else you wanted to pitch while you're here? I know you've got some fundraisers coming up or events.
Well, we do have. I would love folks to keep an eye at abq.org. We do a lot of investor and board related and community educational programs. We are, again, a 501c3. We are mission based. Our goal is not just to benefit the businesses investing us, it's to benefit the whole community and raise the quality of life for everyone. So several times a year we do an event called Building a Regional Economy. free for anybody. I don't care if it's your neighbor down the street, your grandma, or a business associate. And we will talk about what area does, how site selection works, some of these data points, and we'll usually bring in a fun guest panel to educate people about issues and topics. So we have one August 10th. Registration and information should open early next week, and we are going to be focusing the conversation on site readiness for industrial properties and bringing in some great ideas. So stay tuned for those, if nothing else. And I would love to circle back on your babies in the pool thing earlier.
Oh, please. Here we go. This is the hot topic that everybody wants to know.
Have you ever been to a pool in Las Vegas during the summer? So I was recently at the Flamingo pool, and you watch all the adults that drink at least 12 beers and never get out of the pool.
Let's touch
Babies
on
are the
this.
least of your worries.
Skip and I have been to EDC 5 times together, Electric Daisy Carnival. What would we always say? We are not going in that pool.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say adults are just as bad as babies.
Yeah, I think at one point they didn't leave the pool and they added more content to it.
There you go.
Why is the pool overflowing now?
So there's my comment.
You are absolutely correct, and I have been observant of that.
Yeah. Danielle Casey, always a pleasure having you here. The area president and CEO. We'll have links to your website and your fundraiser in the show notes. But coming up, here's where you're going to want to stay tuned to the end of the show. I mean, look, we hit the mortgage minute. We had Danielle, but everybody stay tuned for Skip's Tips.
Skip's Flyaways. All right, we're back in our last segment of UABQ. Thank you, Danielle Casey, for coming on the show. We have our biggest highlight, apparently, according to Skip, is Skip's Tips coming up.
Oh, that's right. It's time for Skip's Tips. Anything that saves us time, makes us more money, or allows us to have more fun, whether that's in real estate or real life. It's no secret that older homes are filled with plenty of charm. But did you know cast iron pipes have a life expectancy of about 50 years? So at about 75 years, that shit hits the fan. So if your home was built prior to 1975, it might be time to have a sewer line inspection. Remember, if your sewer line is failing anywhere between the house and the street, well, that shit's on you. So the good news is, if you need to have your sewer line replaced, chances are your neighbors do too. So be sure to ask your plumber about that group discount. It could save you some money in the long run. Share this with a friend and tell them Skip said so.
You know what lasts longer than 50 years?
Hairspray, what?
Old Spice deodorant.
Is that true?
The stench of it, I feel like it never goes away.
Who wears Old Spice anymore?
Can you make sewer pipes out of Old Spice remnants?
Patent pending. Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, this is all about Sewer You. No, great show. Thanks to Danielle Casey of Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance.
So much information. I love that. I feel like the more we have these episodes, the more they kind of grow off of each other, and we can actually have some facts to teach them.
Yeah.
I don't know if she knows everything, though. I don't know if we taught her anything.
She's a real know-it-all.
Do you want to know about Old Spice?
Yeah. Let me see your sewer pipes.
Next show.
Okay. Well, we'll see you Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings.
This is you.
This is you, ABQ.
You're watching you, ABQ.